Hello, so my name is Amanda, and I want to talk about gun violence in America. So, just a little bit about me. I'm a senior at BYU. I'm doing public health, health science major. I'm applying to PA school right now. And I'm really passionate about public policy, especially gun reform. I read a book about this that really inspired that, as well as I actually cared for a patient who was permanently disinjured due to being a victim in a mass shooting, the Charlie Square shooting, if those can remember. And that really kind of sparked my interest in this topic. So why gun violence? So this is a major public health issue. It's specifically important because our minority groups are majority affected. And it's not just gun violence is a racial justice issue. It's embedded in racism. We need to address that. Well, the last thing I want to talk about is it a lost cause? So gun violence and racism in 2020, about 48,000 people died by firearms in the US. So that's one person every 11 minutes. However, gun violence is not just a random act of violence, but it's a racial justice issue because it disproportionately affects Black people. Despite account for only 14% of the US population, Black people account for over 60% of those who are killed by gun violence each year. That means Black people are over 11 and a half times more likely to be victims of firearms than their non-Hispanic white peers. So Black people are most at risk. Black kids between the ages of 0 to 17 years old are over 13.6 times more likely to die by gun violence than any other demographic. And this is particularly towards young Black men. So between the ages of 18 and 24, they're 14 and a half times more likely to die by gun violence than their male white peers. And over the past 5 years, there's been a 97% increase in gun homicides among Black children, and then there's a 92% increase in gun violence in Black youth. And there's been a 134% increase in gun homicide violence in Black female youth. So just a staggering result is understanding that it's a growing issue and it's affecting more children every single year, putting them at higher risk. I also want to talk about the locations of which these happen mostly. So 83% of all gun deaths among Black Americans are gun homicides, right? And these affect mostly young Black boys and men. And one of the major cities, you see a lot of more gun violence. You'll see them in Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, Detroit, and Memphis. The thing is we want to talk about is because it's a racial justice issue, we talk about how racism impacted the social determinants of health and how it's led to an increase in gun violence. So we see in redlining and segregation. So historically, redlining is outlining Black neighborhoods and keeping Black individuals in those kind of rundown, less nice areas, and then kind of perpetuate this system of poverty and crimes they can't leave, as well as it's limiting their economic growth in terms of like where they live, access to resources in their areas, as well as kind of keeping that cycle of poverty in the area. I also see criminal justice disparities, right? So not having right representation and help in the criminal justice area. You see concentrated poverty, as you kind of see redlining areas, limits economic growth as well as economic opportunities through employment, and this impacts the risk of gun violence. Then you see an underperforming schools. So because education is neglected, that results in less growth through education, less opportunities to utilize education for better employment, and kind of breaking that cycle of poverty. And then with that, you see neglected neighborhoods because there's a limited amount of money. You see more rundown areas, kind of leading to unsafe areas for children and can perpetuate a cycle of violence as well as unsafe areas for children. So talking about, is it a lost cause? So it is not a lost cause. And things I've read in my articles, it talks about that there are 4 things that we could do to really help improve and reduce the risk of gun violence for the Black community. First is providing more economic stability. So trying to break that cycle of poverty, provide more economic growth, try to break that understanding of that link between economic instability and gun violence. We also want to improve neighborhoods to provide more safe areas for Black youth and families to grow up in, provide safer areas for them to live, improve education access and quality. So this is really vital. Once again, kind of tying back in, break the cycle of poverty, improving their opportunities to move out and improve their lives, as well as strengthening social and community context. So trying to break the cultural understanding around gun violence, gun control, gun possession, trying to help strengthen those and create more of a united community and understanding of the impacts of gun violence in the Black communities. And here are my references, if you want to learn more.